Hi there, welcome back to my studio. If you're new to my videos, this is just me, John Enterkin, often known as Mr. E, here in my studio where you'll watch me paint, listen to me talking about my painting as I go along, maybe get a little news about the art world and some about art history. So let's get going. Hi folks, this is John. Some people call me Mr. E. And I wanted to share with you today a painting I'm going to start working on in pastels. And these videos, as you have already heard in the entry, these are not just paint along with John tutorials, or you may not learn all that much, but it's just John in the studio. I'm just here talking, and this is what I do all day, and so you're going to get a chance to spend 30 minutes inside my head. This is my grandson Evan's dog Nellie, and this is the photograph I got of her from him. And then I decided I was going to blow it up like this, which is what you saw in the other drawing there. I traced this part of it over, but talking to him and how Nellie has become a real hunter for rats and mice and such, strangely, we decided to make Nellie into a pirate. And to do that, I went out and I found myself some pirate hats. And so this one here I like because I really like this. I like this stuff going on in here, kind of like the gold going around here. So I'm going to use this, but I also liked this one because I really like this. I like this sparkly gold and red and all this stuff in here. Not so sure about the white fringe, but I really like this little swirly thing here on here, so I'm going to incorporate that also. But you'll notice in this one and the last one you can't see highlights and shadows, so I got this one where now I can see the highlighted side and the shadow side, and I can see the crease here, so I kind of like that too. So I'm going to use this to kind of get more distinction on the sides and the various highlights and shadows. So getting started with all this, this is pastel mat. This is the paper I always use for pastels. There's many other ones. I must have used at least a dozen or 2 dozen different brands. This is made by Pastel Mat, or this is a brand, and I really like it. So to get started, I started one a little earlier, you might be able to see, but I didn't like it. So I erased it, and now I'm going to change it a little bit. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to lay this hat out a little bit more this way, and maybe out a little bit more this direction. And then when it comes up, I want it to dip down and come way up here, like that maybe, and then sweep down so I can get that curve from that other hat. Now with this one I got to try to get some semblance of similarity to the other side. So I got to get something more like that maybe. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, I'm going to give it a little crown in here, even though that's certainly not the Nellie's head crown in there. And then from taking this one, I'm going to play around a little bit. I'm not sure I like the way that is. That's maybe a little better. And I'm going to just lightly draw in, and I mean lightly drawing in a little bit of a line around there, comes up. Now here I got to give this, I'm going to swing it around a little bit more even. Maybe come in here like that with it. Yeah, more like this maybe. And then I can give it some kind of a button on there. And then this line will come out around there, go underneath there, Now I got to give it a second line for this. These lines are probably going to disappear as I start putting color on there, but at least I'll have done it once and kind of let me know where I hope to go in the future. So I kind of got that on there. And now I can start actually using pastel with this. This initially I traced over, yeah, tracing. And no, it's not illegal. There's no tracing police and there's no law about that. I could have spent an hour or two in here redrawing him, or 30 minutes, her, sorry Nellie. But this is just quicker and easier. I can draw. I'll do other videos, show you how well I draw. Yeah, maybe not, but I do. Anyway, I got to change this ear a little bit because it's not going to fit under that hat quite right. So we'll come across here with the base of the hat, come over there. Better come in here with it so it gets over to Nellie's head more. So there, now I got a hat on Nellie's head. And we got some ears. I'm going to bring this one in a little bit. We'll do that. So now I got Nellie's hat and Nellie's ears. And now we can start doing pastels. This is just a white pastel pencil. And this particular one is made by Faber-Castell. They're called Pit Pastels. They're excellent, very soft. Not the cheapest of all by any means, but they're really great. And I use about 3 or 4 different brands of pastel pencils, and I'll show you how I put them up and where I put them and how by showing you my work table here. And this is my work table you're looking at now. And you can see from that I built this little rack in the back a couple of years ago, and it's kind of cool. I can put all my pastel, well, no, okay, half my pastel pencils up there. I probably got twice as many as this, but that's another story. Anyway, these are the 2 brands I have. The ones on the right are the Faber-Castells, and the ones on the left are Stabilo. They're Stabilo Carbothello. I just love saying that, Stabilo Carbothello. So anyway, and I think I use those most. There's a lot of arguments between pastel artists over which one is the softest, but I find they're about equal. Maybe the Stabilos are a little softer. I won't argue with that. Anyway, this is a little palette that I made. It's just foam core, and you'll see it over here on the other video, but I just wanted you to see a little still shot of it. And it's the one that is over here where I'm looking now, and you can see that I'm using this. The way I play with this is, I'll talk about this one later, but I put all the sticks that I'm using right here, or the pencils, I'm sorry, that I'm using right here. The sticks for different colors that I'm using, I got them right here. These are called tourillions. I just love saying tourillions. Anyway, these are blenders, little blenders, and this thing is wiggling all over. I may have to add some more foam core with it. It's been around for a long time. These are blenders, eraser, brilliant. And I got a bunch of other, big blenders called stumps, and a few other things which I'll show you a little bit later. But this allows me to keep things organized. If the pencil's here, that means I've been using it on this particular painting. Same thing with this. And any new ones, I get them off my rack. Some of them I put over here because they're kind of odd. I might not use them. Anyway, I get kind of OCD about all this, but it's cool. Now I'm looking back over here at this lovely dog, and I find out that I really don't like the way these 2 ends have gotten. This might have gotten a little out of hand, so I think I'm going to live with this one, and then maybe lighten this up a little bit here, and try to get this one a little bit more like the other side. Yeah, that might be a little better. I think I got a little overexcited over there. So there, that might be a little more symmetrical. You can get really weird over symmetry. Talk about OCD. Wow. Yeah, I'm way there. So anyway, I'm also older than dirt. So I've been doing this for a really long time. And I do it in all mediums. You'll see in the other videos where I'm doing oils, watercolors, colored pencil, you name it. I've done it. Used to be an illustrator, but that's another story. Worked in New York. I even got a picture of me when I was, I'll have to find that. Got a picture of me when I was about 19 working as an illustrator in New York. Okay, I just found out again I don't like this. It's not quite, it's still bothering me a little bit. Maybe that's a little better. Maybe I'll know when I get there. Anyway, let's start playing with some color on this thing. Oh, color, color, color. Speaking of color, let me show you something I saw this week. This is just really cool. And these are pictures I saw online. Aren't this something? Look at this. These are just leaves. Somebody raking leaves in these patterns. I can't tell you where this is. I didn't see where the location was, but this one is really cool. And look at that. You know, somebody spent a lot of time and they were extremely careful. And you can see a person down there at the bottom in the bright blue. See how small they are compared to the size of that leaf pile. Here, somebody's got to really have some patience. And of course, I'm kind of hoping it was more than one person, but who knows. Anyway, this is really cool with the tree right around the trees. And then this one here sort of reminds you of like an Indian mound almost, which there are out here around this part of the world, here in Ohio. And then this one's even got words. So I just thought these were kind of cool, kind of fun to look at. So anyway, back to the painting, and let's see if we can actually start doing something. All I'm going to do with this is to get things going. Oh, I could use sticks. Let me talk about sticks. Sticks are these things here. Yeah, all kinds of them. I got a box of them here. These are a really small box, but they're kind of a good one. And this is, try to do it right, John. These are Mungo, and they're made in China. Soft pastels. I've been using these forever. And they're really cheap. They're like 64 colors for about 20 bucks. Years and years ago, my grandson, this dog's owner, is 26 now. And the editor of all my videos and the guy who does all of my computer work, runs my website, has a web design business and does a whole lot more that and all kinds of video editing and graphic design work, is my grandson Michael, who's 30. And but when they were little, they wanted to give me art supplies every Christmas. And their mother got them a set of these. She found it in a store somewhere, and it was $2.99 up here. And I got it, and I thought, oh, isn't that cute? Because I usually use much more expensive, bigger sets of pastels, which I'll talk about. Anyway, I started doing a few pastels with those. I ended up with that $2.99 box of pastels, making about $1,000 doing pet portraits. So it's a damn good set of pastels. But there are many, many other sets, many other kinds. And these are square. I like the square ones. Terry Ludwig makes a very expensive, very, very much bigger. And they're very soft. I use them some, but those are like butter. And sometimes they're almost too soft for me. So I will use these, and as a matter of fact, I'll just use a little bit of it right now just to say I did. And I can just show you. I leave them flat, and I'm just going to smear some in here. This has got some blueness. Yeah, it's blue, John, it's blue. Yeah, I know it's blue. I'm doing that on purpose because I'm going to build layers. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just getting some color floating around in here, and eventually I might get happy with the 2 inches of this hat, but who knows. So now I can take a more neutral gray of the same thing and get in there, and it's just I'm not putting it everywhere because I don't want to lose the entire blue in there. So I'm in here like this and just playing around like that. And every time I get done, I stick it over on that side of the palette where I'm actually keeping the sticks that I'm using. But now this is a pencil. This is one of those Stabilo, Carbotello, like that. And here you can see I sharpen these by hand. I'll get into pencil sharpeners, but that's another story. That's a whole other story. And now I like laying these down, and I can just start working it in a little bit. But I'm not going to worry about getting this too far along. I just want to get some fundamentals in here. And today in this video, I'm not going to get all that far. I just wanted you to see how I work, what I do, and most of the time it's just sort of stream of consciousness in the studio by myself, talking as though I were talking to my students, the ones I have nowadays online doing Zoom classes. But I've done it so long now, I've been teaching for over 40 years, that I find that when I'm working on my own work, doing other paintings, pet portraits, people portraits, whatever medium, I find that I'm talking in my head to my students and everything all the time, or other people. So friends of mine have said, well, John, why don't you start making some videos? Make a YouTube video just like you were just doing stream of consciousness. This is how I talk in the studio. This is what I do. And that's how this evolved. So we're going to see where this takes us. But trust me, if you guys weren't here, I'd be doing the same thing either in my head or out loud. And I wouldn't be worrying about anything in the world because I don't worry much. There's a nice black. Also, let you know, down here at the bottom, I often cut these boards bigger than I'll ever use, so I have a place that I can play down here to see if I like what's going on. I also sometimes keep a piece of this pastel mat trimmed off of somewhere else here, and that way I can use it for the same thing. So I'm just gonna, and I know it looks kind of trashy, but I'm just doing this to give me a little bit of a sense of how I might go as I start building up these layers. Because you can, with this pastel mat, it's really good stuff. You can probably put, and that's one of the reasons I like the squares, I can move them around and get different patterns with it. You could probably get a dozen different layers on here without breaking up the paper any, as long as you don't press too hard as you go. Okay, that's a straighter line than that one is, and I think I'm just going to have to go ahead and move this one a little bit to where it's a little bit more like the other side. Not sure which one I like. Anyway, those are there. I will tell you that I do have this photograph here of Nellie, and this is the one I used, the same size. You can see I just traced a few lines over in here. But when I'm working, that's not what I use. I like to work on my iPad here. Come on. Okay. So I'm working on this, and because not only does it give me a lot more detail than even my good printer will do, but I can zoom in when the time comes, and I can look at those eyes and really get the details of what's her eyes look like. Same thing with the nose and hairs and everything else. So when we get to that point, you'll see what I mean, because I'm going to want to really try to emulate all of this kind of delicacy on her fur. That's one of the reasons pet portraits, to me, really do well as pastels, because pastel, especially pencils, are phenomenally good for doing fur. Well, I don't care whether it's a dog like this, a cat, or for that matter, wild animals. You can do lions, tigers, and bears. So the thing I think I want to do now is, I'm not going to get too much farther along with that, but I'm going to get a little bit of color on Nellie herself. And I think to do that, again, I'm going to use one of these, but you can see I'm laying it flat, and it's going to get flatter as I go along here. And I'm just getting a little color in just to give me some feel for it. It'll get different as I go. I'm going to talk about colors here in a bit. We'll get a little bit down here. She's got a lot of white going on her, so I'm not going to worry too much. I'm kind of in here. Yeah, I'll give her a little bit more. There she is. Now, I'm going to go ahead and try to get a few sticks in there on her now and see how far that takes me. But I don't want to get too far. A lot of painters, sometimes pastel painters, will work up here and work their way down in kind of a almost completed manner so they don't get it all over themselves. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Sometimes I'll use, like I will now, a piece of paper I can lay my hand on, do all of this kind of stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is do that. I'm just going to leave this here for now. Play a little bit more with the hat. Like I said, this video probably not going to be anything more than 30 minutes, but I want to start sharing things with you. I hope you will like, and speaking of sharing, I hope you will subscribe to this and share it to all your friends, because I want to get as many people's opinions. Leave things in the comment for me. Let me know what you think. Well, maybe not. I'm looking for the right kind of pencil now. These are too blue. So I think I'm going to go for a darker gray just to start out here and get a little bit more definition. I've been kind of lax here, just playing around. And now I think I need to get a little more serious about things as I work my way around. Let's just fill this in a bit with these colors. These are still just light grays. I build to the dark. Now you can put light over dark with pastels. It's one of the beauties of it. But at the same time, it's not a bad idea to work a little bit light to dark so you can keep control of and build up some of these layers I keep blathering on about. I do blather. My grandson, who edits all of these things, he said, don't worry, if there's some dead spots, I'll put some music and stuff in there and whatever's needed. I said, Michael, you can ask anybody who knows me. When I'm talking, there ain't no dead spots. I just never shut up. That has been commented on before, and I've been known every now and then as being a crashing bore because I blather on endlessly about useless knowledge. To some, I personally disagree, but that's because I'm incredibly prejudiced toward myself. You can see I'm just working these down. I don't have it out right now, but I will before the next video, or at least the next video when I'm working on pastel like this. I'll show you the way I sharpen the pencils and the kind of pencil sharpener I use, which I can't use with these because these are too soft. You put these in a pencil sharpener and you'll just chew them all up, and you might as well just throw them out because you're never going to get them really sharp. I don't care. Even the little hand pencil sharpeners, yeah, they give you a sharpness. They'll give you a sharp look, but it may end up looking like that, and I can't get the kind of look I want with just being like that. That's the way they come out of the box. And it's okay, but I don't want to have to stay like this all the time. I want to be able to get down and get there with it. So I'm still just using grays. Now, just so I know that I can, I'm going to get over here and grab a black. And one of the darkest spots will, of course, be in this crown in the background here. So I'll probably just get back into here and get some of this darkness in here. I don't want to just scrub around too much. And I can blend them. I try not to blend too much because, I mean, with a blender, but you can use your fingers. They work wonderfully. You get a little black, but you don't care. So I'm going to get this darker as I go, but at least you can see, and I'm doing it in a way that I'm going to be able to define where that crown is. So I'll get the crown nice and dark down in here so I can see it, and I'll lighten up a little bit as I go. I'm keeping the light coming from my right, so the light's coming this direction. On her, Nellie, it's almost straight on. I'm going to make it a slightly lighter and darker the way I showed you in the hats because it gives it more contrast, it gives it a little more three-dimensional value. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of that on her so she looks like she belongs in the same picture. But I can't get too extreme or they won't look like they're harmonized. And I will, don't worry, I'm not going to harmonize. You do not want to have to hear me sing. Believe me. All right, I'm going to give this a front crown. So this side over, like in that one photo, it's going to be kind of like this. So that means this side over here is going to be much darker than the other side. And I'm just going to start it like this. And then it's going to roll up. And then it's going to get really darker over here. Because, I don't have a photograph for this. This is all coming out of my little pea brain. And going to make it all get really dark in here, Johnny. And it's okay. It's okay. That's why they call me Mr. E. Anyway, they call me Mr. E because nobody can pronounce intricate, especially when I was doing youngsters, homeschoolers, and younger ones. They struggled with trying to remember to say Mr. Entercan, all of that. So I told them to just call me Mr. E. And that's sort of where it started from. But then my other students and friends, just about everybody's picked it up because they get a kick out of it. Now I'm going to darken this over here, but I'm going to leave some lightness in here for right now. This is just going to come over here. Got to make sure I keep my little thingy bob here. And don't get too upset with me over the fact that I'm keeping it kind of sloppy and loose right now because this is the way I would work. And that's going to get lighter in here, then it'll get a little darker over here as I build up some shadows. I'm not exactly going to follow the contours of this, but you can see what I'm doing, but I'm making it up as I go. And that's sort of what I've done, not only with my painting, but I guess you could say with my entire life, since I've been doing this forever and ever all over the world. And that's another story which you'll have to listen to off and on at times. I'll make you listen to the stories of John as he stumbled through this bizarre life that he's had. It's been fun. Never a dull moment over here in Mr. E's world. All right, I think maybe we're here to where, I got another thing I can show you. This is kind of cool too. I get a lot of emails that I've signed up for and so forth about news in the art world, news in the real world, art world, everywhere. Yeah, the art world ain't a real world, believe me. But I want to show you this. This is something else that I saw and read about recently. Look at this painting. Yeah, this one here is a Vincent van Gogh painting that was stolen from a Dutch museum in March of 2020. And it was returned very recently by a tipster who delivered it encased in bubble wrap and tucked in a Ikea bag to the home of this private Dutch art crimes detective. And the detective, Arthur Brand, he'd been investigating the theft of this painting, which is named the Parsonage Garden at Noonan, probably pronouncing it wrong, Noonan in Spring. And it's one of Van Gogh's very early works, painted in 1884. I'll throw up some other stuff about his early work and later work and how he got through his life, because I teach art history also, and that's another story, but we'll get into some of that stuff. I just love seeing these things. And this painting was stolen while it was part of a temporary exhibit at the Singer Loren Museum. It's about 20 miles outside of Amsterdam. And it had been on loan from another museum in another northern part of the country, but there's a whole story behind it. And I'm going to try to put in the comments down there the link to the actual story of where I read this, because it's kind of cool. And this gentleman here, this Arthur Brand, is a very well-known art crime detector, and it's pretty. His work is very interesting. Okay, back over here to poor little Nellie and me. All right, I'm going to stop this for now. Now, all my videos, you know, my next video may be a watercolor. It may be an oil. I don't know, but I'll be back to this one soon, maybe the next one. And we'll just keep working on it, and I'll come up with some more stuff to show you and tell you we got a lot to do. I haven't even gotten to the history of the pencil yet. That's coming. Just hang on, stay tuned. And speaking of which, please like it and subscribe. And I also understand that you can click on something called notify, and that lets you know every time I put up a new video, which I'm going to be doing as many as I possibly can because I kind of enjoy it. Okay, folks, see you later.